Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You welcome back to my channel. My name is Olivia. If you're just seeing me for the first time, thank you and welcome. I'm a Nigerian who lives here in South Africa with my family and I make various content, so please subscribe if you're not. Share this video because it's very important too. In fact, like, time is very important, and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, so in today's video I want to talk about a narrative that they've been pushing. You know, they keep pushing some narratives on the internet space, okay, and some are very, very intriguing, some are interesting, some are a food for thought, and others are bizarre, okay. But in today's video I want to talk about men doing DNA on their children. Oh my god, this is a very interesting topic, okay. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So guys, this is a narrative on the internet space of Nigeria. You know, every country have their own internet spaces. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is a whole new level, a different level. I'm not into Facebook, but Instagram, oh my god. So there's this video that has been trending about a woman that has 3 children, and 2 children are not her husband's children, but one is her husband's child. It was very, very interesting. So what happened, I don't know if I can get that video, I'll put it. If not, let me just tell you what happened. So that in that video, somebody was meant to prank the woman to tell her that the husband did a DNA test, and you know, the person posed as a lab scientist, that it shows that some children here are not your husband's children. So what are we going to do about this thing? Because I'm a lab scientist, I just got the result and I'm forwarding the result to my director, which will now give it out to your husband that ordered for the DNA. And the woman was, at first she was on the defense, but when the guy, the pranker or something, called her name, called her children's name and her children's age, she now calmed down. She was now talking small. So, oh my god, I felt for her. Not like I felt for her, but I don't know how I felt. I felt so nostalgic about the whole story. Okay, keep listening. So when she now said admitting, the guy was now asking her, so these children are not your husband? She said yes. She said 2 of the children there were not her husband's children, and that her husband doesn't know, but one is her husband's child, which is the last one. And the pranker was now asking her, okay, so now who owns these children? Whose children are they for real? She said that is for her boyfriend. Yeah, that her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend before she got married, has the 2 children out of the 3, and only one is for the husband. And these kids are about grown, say 13, 12, 10, you know. Oh my god. So it rose a lot of uproar on the Nigerian internet space, and I mean, people we are now beginning to move the narrative that all men should do a DNA test on their children, okay. Which I don't know how possible that is. Like, if you're a man, tell me how possible it is for you to do a DNA test on your children. It's a very sensitive topic, I know, but it's my mom that said it some time ago, and she said that it's only a woman that knows the father of her children. That it's been a saying, and that's true. Being a woman now, I know that if a man, except maybe you're doing things with 2 or 3 men at the same time, but most times women know the real father of their children, trust me. So the question now is, what do you guys think on the comment section? Or do you think this narrative that is being pushed is the right narrative? Do you think every man, have our society degenerated, you know, in the world, that men should now be scared when their partners or their wives say, this child is your child, or I'm pregnant for you? Like, so my take on this is, 1, there's a situation where a DNA test can come up. A DNA test is a scientific test that can prove the real genetics of the child. If a parent has a child, DNA with the child, if a DNA test is run, should be like 100% or 99.9 percent. But if there's a first degree relation, like maybe if your husband's brother owns the child, the DNA will have some compatibility, but not 99%. But if it's not your husband, or not his relatives at all, or not, you know, the man's relative at all that has the child, there will be no compatibility at all. That's one thing about the DNA test. So I find it very bizarre that this kind of thing can be happening in our society of today. In a situation where a DNA test should be run, in my own opinion, is where you're not sure of the child. Maybe you had a fling with somebody, you had a fling with a woman, just maybe a one night out. The woman is not your girlfriend or not your wife, and the woman now turns around and say, oh, I'm pregnant for you. From how? I just did something with you once. So I feel in that kind of situation, yes, every man should, if you're a man, you shouldn't just say okay. You should run a DNA test to ascertain that child is your child before you start taking responsibility. Okay, so that's my take on the DNA. Yes, I agree that there are some situations whereby you necessarily need a DNA test. But if you have a trusted relationship with a wife, somebody you got married to, it's just like as my husband married me now, and I'm living here. It's so bizarre to start asking for a DNA, because the narrative that we are pushing on the internet is that if you have a child or all your children in your house, just go and start running DNA tests on all of them. Really, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me. I don't know how that kind of thing. But I know that if something begins to happen randomly, or if all men begins to, run a DNA test on all their children, I'm sure something may be found in some cases. Of course, it's terrible. But I know that if you're migrating to Canada from Nigeria, I think a DNA test is required to ascertain that the children are your children, that you're not taking extra children to add. You're not taking relatives' children to say, oh, they are your children. Okay, that's another case. Okay, and in that case, that's where those DNA fraud. Okay, it's called DNA fraud. Actually, I didn't even talk about it in the first place. It's called DNA fraud. That's where those DNA fraud began to be found out in the first place. With all those relocation processes, people began to find out women that gave men children that are not theirs. My sisters, come closer. So that's my take on that. I feel with a marriage relationship, it's crazy to even talk about DNA. That means there's no trust. There's a sound. I'm outside, there's a sound. I don't know. So a lot of people now started saying that, okay, fine, that it will be very heartbreaking if a man wants a DNA test, assuming that narrative is pushed and men began to do it. If a man wants a DNA test and actually he finds out that his children are actually his children, how will that relationship play out later? Really, I won't even find it funny if my husband comes now and tell me, okay, these children, this one, look at her nose, look at her mouth, look at her head. Yeah, let's go and run a DNA test. After that DNA test, that marriage will not remain the same again. That was what a lot of women were saying, that of course if you trust your woman, that DNA test should not even come up. That a marriage where paternity fraud suspicion is coming up, that the marriage, there's a fundamental problem already with the marriage, which I totally agree. If there's trust and there's no fundamental problem with the marriage, the suspicion of DNA fraud should not even come up in the first place at all. That's what I think. But I feel there are some needs, or there's some situation where DNA testing is very necessary. It's very, very necessary. And there's a situation where it is not necessary. Yeah, if it's like a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, well, you should know your girlfriend rather, and if she's somebody of a questionable character. If she's somebody you also trust, I don't think the DNA test is necessary unless there's no trust. But with a marriage relationship, oh my God, I don't think it should even be mentioned at all. But one thing about those relationships, those boyfriend and girlfriend, most times if the child is actually your child, they come out looking like you. What we call, now my papa born me in Nigeria, those kids normally look like their father, especially when it's not a marriage relationship. You even not need a DNA test. We call it no DNA test needed. So anyway, that's what I think. Those are my take. What do you think on the comment section, guys? Tell me what you think about this issue of paternity fraud. My advice to women: don't do it. Don't do it. Don't give a man another person's child. If you're pregnant and you meet a man, you should be honorable enough to say, sorry, I'm pregnant, my relationship is not working, I'm pregnant. Some men will be kind enough to take that child from you and say, okay, I adopt the child legally. And it makes sense for a man to adopt a child that he doesn't know legally, a child that he knows is not his child legally. Yes, I know this child is not my child, but I adopt this child legally, than, you know, just taking the pregnancy and heaping on the person's head. You think it's your child, and you don't know it's not your child. So I think my advice to women is, don't do it. I think in the long run, maybe it may not be found. In some cases is found. In some cases in Nigeria those days, we used to hear where maybe the child begins to have a medical emergency, and they say, okay, donate blood. You see that you're not able, when they do the testing, there's no compatibility. You know, those cases arise. It's very funny. It's funny to me, but it's really not funny in real life. It's not funny. So my advice to women, don't do it. And my advice to men, I don't think there's any need to start suspecting your children. Even if they don't look like you, they don't have to look like you. But if you suspect and you test and the child is not yours, well, of course, you know the child is not yours, but you will also not find it funny in the long run, because you've always been attached and bonded to this child. Now you know it's not yours. Sometimes you don't want to, the whole truth is not good to be known. I don't know. I really don't know. But I feel, you know, sometimes the whole truth is not good to be known. But in some cases, but if you want to know the whole truth as men, you can go ahead to do the DNA test. Maybe no harm, you find out. But in a situation whereby you find out that these children are actually your children, I'm not sure your wife will find it funny with you in the long run, really, honestly. Guys, tell me on the comment section, if you're a guy here, what do you think about this DNA thing? Do you think you can suspect a woman to the extent that you ask for a DNA test for your children? What do you think? You know, would you want to know that kind of truth, assuming those kids are not your children? Would you want to know? Do you think this narrative that has been pushed on the social media platforms are, you know, something that people should think of? Anyway, that's my take. What do you think? Tell me what you think on the comment section about this DNA fraud issue, and I'll see you in my next one. Please give this video a thumbs up, like this video, share this video. Bye.